Greetings, professors, teachers, and fellow students.
Today, my topic will be the rise of Prussia. My name is Chiu. My thesis is separated into 3 parts. Number 1, introduction. Number 2, the body. And finally, the conclusion. The introduction includes motivation, purpose, and method, while the body includes background and each king's reign, which will be our major storyline. First of all, my motivation. In high school history textbook, only 2 parts mentioned about the Kingdom of Prussia. Firstly being Frederick the Great and the 7 Years' War. Second, Bismarck's lead to unifying Germany, and that was it. So this led me into thinking, was the rise of Prussia an easy and non-resistant progress? And however, is this really the case? I wondered. Consequently, this led me into the fascinating history of Prussia, and I decided to do a thesis on this topic. Purpose. First purpose of my thesis is to have a clearer view of the history of Prussia. And the second is how Prussia was able to survive and rise in the dangerous and unfriendly European environment. My method will mainly be literature review. I'll be looking into what each king contributed to Prussia from years 1640 to 1871, reigns of 8 kings. I'll connect each king's reign and create a more fluent flow of Prussian history. Okay, now entering the first part of the body, background history. Ancient Prussia to years 1640. First of all, Prussia's location. Prussia is actually nowhere in Germany, somewhere between Russia and Germany, which is modern Poland. In ancient times, a Catholic religious order named the Teutonic Order conquered this land. And in 1525, the leader of this organization abandoned the Teutonic Order, thus forming the Duchy of Prussia. However, the Duchy of Prussia only remained as a fief under the King of Poland, and would do whatever the Polish king said. The Brandenburg-Prussian Union. In 1618, Brandenburg, a small and minor state in the Holy Roman Empire, united with Prussia, a fief under King of Poland. Both were minor insignificant states. And also the same year, 30 Years' War broke out. The Germanic states in the Holy Roman Empire were devastated. This included Brandenburg, which was considered a wasteland to other European monarchies. The journey only starts now. This is the Prussian monarchs. This is the list of the Prussian monarchs we'll be discussing, starting from Frederick William the Great Elector and ending with William I's reign. Our first hero to the rise of Prussia is Frederick William the Great Elector. At the beginning of his reign, he only had a 5,000-man army. These 5,000 men were not well trained and nor disciplined. Therefore, he cut his army into half, leaving the more elite ones. Slowly and steadily, he built his army and raised the number up to 8,000. However, this was actually a small army compared to other European monarchies, and historians consider this a homegrown and professional fighting force. It was tiny, but it was effective and agile, and it suited Frederick William's aims. This army helped Brandenburg Prussia survive through the 30 Years' War. Next, Frederick I. Frederick I was son of Frederick William I. He did not have as much ambition as his father. However, he still contributed some to Prussia. By using the army that he had inherited from his father, he was able to manipulate in the War of Hispanic Succession, elevating the Duchy of Prussia into the Kingdom of Prussia. Frederick William I was nicknamed the Soldier King. He focused on 3 principles throughout his entire reign. First being his frugality. He quickly eradicated the luxurious atmosphere in the Prussian palace, and he remained frugal throughout his entire reign. After his death, he left a huge surplus in the Prussian treasury. Second is his administration. He installed a new administrative body named the General Directorate. The General Directorate helped the king efficiently collect taxes from the Prussian nobilities. Finally, the military. With the 2 points above, Frederick William I was able to successfully expand his army. Growth of the Brandenburg-Prussian army. At the beginning of his reign, Frederick William I only had about 40,000 men in his army. However, at the end, the number almost doubled. This is why the Soldier King was nicknamed the Soldier King. It was also at this time that the Prussians were ridiculed as an army with a state instead of a state with an army. Frederick II, also more famously known as Frederick the Great. 1 year after his ascension to the throne, Frederick II decided to march his army into Silesia, a rich province under the rule of the Austrian Empire. This could be seen as a lesser German power, Prussia, challenging the most dominant power in the Holy Roman Empire, Austria. And surprisingly, this ended as a Prussian victory. The 7 Years' War. The Austrians were determined to take back Silesia, so she allied with Prussia, being the French, the polar bear, which is Russia. The three were three great powers of all four, only excluding England. While Prussia was only a small emerging state in the Baltic region. Frederick the Great clearly knew that he could be easily overwhelmed by the resources and manpower at the Allies. Development of the 7 Years' War, from start to the end. Frederick wanted to end the war as soon as possible, so he took the initiative. He drove his army into the state of Saxony, which is a protectorate under the Austrian Empire, thus provoking the Austrians and starting the 7 Years' War. In the first few years into the 7 Years' War, Frederick the Great was able to outmaneuver his enemies on the battlefields again and again, gaining stunning victories. However, as the war continues, Prussia's overall situation declined, as her resources and manpower were running low. And while the Allies could easily compensate their losses due to their large mass and abundant resources. In the last few years of the war, Frederick II clearly knew that a Prussian defeat was only in a matter of time. However, Jesus above did not want Prussia's legacy to end so soon. In 1762, Empress Elizabeth II of Prussia died. Her successor, Peter III, was a great Prussophile and an admirer of the Prussian culture. He signed an armistice with the Prussians, while France was already kicked out of the war, and the Austrians, reluctant to carry all the burden by herself. The 7 Years' War ended in 1763. So, what is the 7 Years' War's meaning for Prussia? Number one, Prussia established a new status, a great power status, which it had never gained before, able to fend off three great powers simultaneously, with only the resources and manpower of a slowly emerging power. Now, other European monarchies consider Prussia an essential piece of the European affairs. Second is that Prussia successfully secured Silesia, which was a very resourceful and populous province in the Austrian Empire, thus greatly enhancing the overall situation of Prussia. Finally, however, is a negative effect. The slow declination of the Prussian army. Although Prussia remained as the victor in the 7 Years' War, the Austrians, French, and the Russians were able to deal decisive blows to the foundation of the Prussian army. This was a problem that Frederick the Great could reverse throughout his entire reign. Frederick William II wasn't considered a very successful king. During his reign, the French Revolution broke out. While his armies were suppressing the French Revolution, he had his eyes on annexing Poland. The annexed Polish territories only lived few German-speaking people. Therefore, Prussia had to spend a lot of time and resources on suppressing the insurrections led by the Polish people. Prussia was weakened both externally and internally during his reign. Next, Frederick William III. During his reign, Napoleon rose in France. The two nations clashed in the Battle of Jena-Auerstedt, in which the Prussian army was annihilated by the French army. And this triggered three events. First being the Treaty of Tilsit, second, reforms of Skonhorst, and finally, reforms of Stein-Hardenberg. The Treaty of Tilsit was Prussia's greatest humiliation of the century, as it made Prussia cede her western half territories to France, which was also half of her resources and population. However, this was also the turning point, as it led to Stein-Hardenberg and Skonhorst leading reforms. Stein-Hardenberg tried to decentralize the authority and the power of the king, because they realized that the rulers after Frederick the Great wasn't so successful. While General Skonhorst, he focused on military reforms, trying to make promotions in the army more based on dedication and merit instead of on nobility. The two reforms slowly brought Prussia back on track. Frederick William IV. During his reign, the Prussian Revolution broke out in 1848. The German people wanted Prussia to lead other minor Germanic states into unifying the Greater Germany, and they wanted to crown Frederick William IV as the first emperor of the German Empire. However, Frederick William IV was afraid that this would attract foreign interference into Prussia, thus bringing instability. Therefore, he turned their offer down. However, this could be seen as a germination of the trend of Greater Germany coming into birth. Finally, William I. William I appointed Otto von Bismarck as his prime minister. Otto von Bismarck, with his superior diplomatic strategies and the refined armies that his predecessor had left, was able to initiate three wars: the German-Danish War, the Austro-Prussian War, and finally the Franco-Prussian War. These three wars all resulted in a Prussian victory. Thus, Prussia was able to unite the other minor Germanic states, forming the German Empire, and ending the history of the Kingdom of Prussia, starting the history of the German Empire. Finally, my conclusion. To what I firstly assumed, which was that Prussia's road to victory was an easy and non-resistant progress. However, after this thesis, I realized that it was actually full of obstacles and resistance. I conclude that Prussia can be attributed into four reasons. Number one, the king's visions. Number two, Prussian army. Number three, Prussian spirit and the Prussian soul. And finally, a bit of luck. First, the king's visions. Although not all kings were successful rulers, many of them had great visions which led Prussia to the correct path into unifying Germany and becoming a great power. Second is the Prussian army. Without the Prussian army, only when Brandenburg Prussia was a small state in the Baltic region, it would have been easily conquered and annexed by other greater powers. Third is the Prussian spirit and the Prussian soul, which could be observed in number one, the 30 Years' War, number two, the 7 Years' War, and finally, the Battle of Jena-Auerstedt. In these three wars, although the Prussians were facing devastating consequences and seemingly hopeless situations, they never succumbed to foreign forces. And finally, is a bit of luck. During the 7 Years' War, if the Empress of Russia didn't die, the future fate and destiny of Prussia would be totally on a different path. Above is my conclusion. Thank you for listening. History and progress of snake venom research in Taiwan.